the Horizon 7.0 AT treadmill, 10-month review. How's it going? How's it working for us? Some things we've run into, maintenance we've needed to do, and just what our thoughts are after 10 months as we get close to the initial in-home repair warranty ending at a year. 10 months with the Horizon 7.0 AT treadmill. Yeah, 10 months we've had it. We've got on the channel here, we've got an unboxing and assembly video for this, plus also a 7-week video where we kind of checked in shortly after we got the treadmill, and we're, still kind of just coming out of the honeymoon phase, but we're still in the honeymoon phase.
I still like it.
Yep, so it's good. So just in this video, we'll kind of talk about some of the things we've run into, some of the maintenance we've done, maybe some issues, that kind of stuff, some of the good things, and yeah, just our overall thoughts. But yeah, right off the hop, to spoil it, is we're still very happy with it. So very happy. So
it works. It makes us work. It's all good.
Yeah, Horizon is under the Johnson Fitness umbrella. Under that umbrella is also Matrix and AFG and used to be Livestrong. I'm not sure if Livestrong is still around as a brand. I'm not sure now. So. But we've had multiple Livestrong treadmills. We had 3 of them. Don't let that think that that's a bad thing that we went through them that fast. We wore them out. And they lasted really good. And we really loved them. But we decided as we were doing stuff, at one point we had 2 treadmills going, yours and mine. We were training that much. And we just, with some of the races we were doing and some of the stuff we were doing, we just couldn't, in the middle of a minus 40-degree weather period, have a treadmill go down and us not being exercising. So we had ended up buying a more expensive treadmill that was awful. It basically wrecked us. But at the time, you really couldn't get spare parts. So once those things were off warranty, they were done. You couldn't really get parts from anywhere, aftermarket or anything like that. That market seems to have changed. So we're quite happy to go back here and expect that we'll get many years out of this treadmill. It's very easy to repair, very simple, that kind of stuff.
I'm still just so happy with it.
Yeah. So we did buy it directly from Horizon Fitness .ca, their Canadian website. But we're just noticing that Canadian Tire in Canada here is now starting to sell the same model, the 7.0 AT, plus 2 of the more home type models, the T101 and the TO2, I think, something like that. But they do have this one in particular, slightly different console than what's on here, but all the controls are basically the same. They're all there. It's just laid out a little bit differently. And I think the one on the Canadian Tire website has a picture of some little tablet holder up where we've got that computer monitor. But yeah, so anything we have to say about this treadmill looks like it should translate directly to that one from Canadian Tire. So if you're, it's new on the Canadian Tire website, you haven't really seen any reviews there or anything like that, this should kind of give you a little bit of what might be in store for you.
Perhaps just a quick little scan. Yeah,
so here's the treadmill. Yeah, so we got a monitor above with a Amazon Fire Stick so we can watch some stuff. Here we go. Yeah, just a very simple display. The watts, pace, calories per hour, heart rate, those are all fixed. You can't change what is displayed on that LED screen. You do have some options on this lower LCD screen. You got time and countdown, so you can set it to either one of those things. Speed or incline on that one. Distance or, it's too dark, distance or pace. And then calories or heart rate. Yeah, so it does have heart rate sensors right in these pistol grips here. While we're talking about the pistol grips, it's got an incline and a speed roller. You can basically use those to roll things around or change your speeds and incline relatively quickly without having to hit any buttons. A lot easier to reach these when you're actually running or that kind of thing. On the side, there are 2 buttons, one in either pistol grip, that lets you set 2 speed and incline memory points, essentially, while you're in the middle of your workout. So you can set a walking speed and a running speed if you want to do run, walk, run training, that kind of thing. That's all there and available to use. Definitely recommend using those even if you're not doing any of that kind of stuff, if you're doing a steady run, get up to whatever your pace is, whatever incline you're setting it at, hit one of the buttons, hold it until this screen flashes and beeps. Yeah. I usually have my headphones in, so I never hear the beep, but yeah. So you do that, and then if you accidentally bump one of these and it starts to change, you just hit your button, it'll set itself back up to that memory set point, and just an easy thing to do. Start button, inclines, speeds, stop, so manual controls for that. There's fan control, there's a fan in it. Don't really use it. We use a kind of another fan to blow on us instead to really move some air. It does have USB and audio input from there for a 3.5mm jack. So it does have speakers as well. You can also use Bluetooth to do the speakers. We don't really do that because it's 2022 and it was 2021 and nobody's leaving the house, so we haven't played the music through any of that kind of stuff. Just use earphones instead. Lets us transport ourselves somewhere else. We don't hear what's going around in the house. Nobody's hearing what we're doing or listening to, and we just take that privacy, which is also why the treadmill's in this little built room into our rec room here, hiding in behind some storage. It does have Bluetooth, as I said. It connects to a phone. There's the AFG Pro app, which I did set it up just enough to be able to change a couple of users. It can go up to 5 users plus a guest. But we don't really use it for much else. It's not the greatest app in the world. The Bluetooth here on this machine will let you connect in some other fitness apps, like Zwift, I think is one of them, as you can get into, and a few other ones that you can track all your information or participate in things like, I think Zwift has events or whatever where you can run against others and things like that. Allows you to do that. We don't do any of that kind of stuff. We prefer full manual control. This machine allows us to have full manual control. So even for tracking, we don't use the apps for tracking anything.
I use paper.
Heather uses paper.
A lot
of paper to track everything. I use spreadsheets. So basically every run that I do goes onto a spreadsheet. It gets tracked that way. It's how we own the data. It's how we absorb the data mentally. I found that when I put data just directly into an app, it would go into there and it would disappear. I wouldn't do anything with it. It was fire and forget. The data went in there and it was gone. I did nothing with it. But you put it on paper, you put it in a spreadsheet, you're manually interacting with that data.
You own it.
You own it,
yes.
Yeah. You own the data. In a privacy perspective as well, but that it's when you're exercising, you want to own your data and you want to own your gains, that kind of stuff. So manual all the way for us, and that's what we found great for here. That's our previous treadmill used some trash software. That's the only way I can describe it. It had essentially, instead of like manual direct buttons, it had capacitive buttons that didn't always work. Sometimes they take 3 hits at a time, or you'd I want to go 0.1 mile an hour faster, and it would ramp to the roof. It would just go, because it would take that one button press as 50, and it would just go. And we had the software crash, and that's when we discovered essentially it was controlled by a really out-of-date old Android tablet.
It almost bricked it, didn't it?
It did. Yeah. It essentially did. I needed to, the software, the support pages for the treadmill, that company, had a link to the software to be able to repair it, and it didn't work. The link didn't work.
Again, not this treadmill.
No.
Last treadmill.
That
has brought us now to this one.
Yes, yeah. So that was bad. I had to go through a YouTube tutorial that had a link to somebody that also had gone and saved the software somewhere else, so we were able to recover and continue using that treadmill. But yeah, that was heavily disappointing.
Nightmare.
Yeah,
that was a nightmare. That was dangerous.
That was especially when it would ramp. That was nuts. But not with this. Never had any problems. We've heard online that some people have had troubles with the thing kind of taking off on them or randomly changing speeds or inclines and that kind of stuff. We haven't had any of those problems. It sounded like a lot of people when they were having issues, more related to using the Bluetooth apps. Like I said, we do manual all the way, so we haven't run into anything like that. Now that I've said an incline again, someone will always ask in the comments because there's a vocal video out there. We have not had any issues with the incline on this going all the way up and not being able to come back down. I've tested it multiple times and tracked the wires. It looks like what ended up happening to that extremely rare circumstance is there was a tie wrap that caught the wire. Yeah, so it's just, yeah.
Some bizarre one-off kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I've seen multiple comments on that kind of stuff that it's like, that I work for a company that sold hundreds of these and we've never had that problem. So yeah, so don't worry about that if you're seeing that as some kind of concern out there. Yeah, so we're gonna do a quick change of scenery here. We'll sit down, we'll talk about some of the maintenance, get into a place with maybe a little bit better light. What have we had done for maintenance, or what have we done with that treadmill? As we mentioned downstairs, no issues at all with the incline going all the way up to its maximum, or just not letting it come back down, or that kind of stuff. We haven't had any issues like that. We have done the standard maintenance that you need to do with the treadmill, which is to lubricate it every 150 miles, the belt. There is a warning that will come up after you're done your run. When you hit that counter, it'll pop up and it'll say lube belt, and then you just reset that afterwards. I think you hold down the stop button and speed up button. So stop and then speed up, hold for 5 seconds, the machine beeps, screen splashes, and it resets that 150 mile counter. We did get the lubricant off of Amazon, just something we got with a little bottle that made it easy to get in there, because the prescribed way that the documentation tells you to lubricate the treadmill belt is basically to loosen the belt, spread the lubricant, and then tighten the belt again and things like that. And that just seemed like a lot of extra work and a chance of misaligning the belt and that kind of stuff. So we got a bottle of the lubricant that had a hose about that long that'll let me reach about halfway across the belt, and I'm able to just kind of squeeze it in underneath the belt and then follow the remainder of the maintenance procedure without having to loosen the belt ever. So,
and this has come because honestly, he's having to do the lubricating almost every 3 weeks, because we are putting this machine through its paces constantly.
Yeah. So yeah.
If there's an easier way to do something, you have found it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, for that kind of maintenance, for sure. Like, it's just so much easier, so much faster to do that. And yeah, it literally takes lubrication down to less than 5 minutes instead of what would have been a 15 minutes to half an hour job, depending on how often you've done it and how familiar with doing it you've become. So saves a lot of time. We've gotten that bottle now, and then we ran out of the lubricant that was in that bottle, but I was able to refill it with lubricants that we just bought at a local treadmill store that just basically had a little bottle it was a one-time use bottle. I was able to basically just dump that into our other bottle, and just makes that maintenance easier. So that's that main maintenance that we had to do. Also, you can take the shroud off the motor housing. That's a total of, I believe, 7 screws, and you get in there and you vacuum out any kind of stuff like that. We have 3 dogs, so there was a lot of dog hair in there. We just don't want to get caught up in the motors and stuff like that. So we do that maintenance. It's not necessarily something that absolutely has to be done all the time, but that's just a protection thing for us because we want to keep this thing going for many years. Other than that, we've had, in 10 months, we've gone through 2 belts and a deck, but there's stories behind that, because that'll put some people a little bit, oh no.
Fear not.
No, there's reasoning behind some of that. So the first belt was essentially 3 months, within 3 months. And it was a very unusual set of circumstances that caused that. Essentially, Heather melted it. So, so it was 3 months. It was about 650, 700 miles total. Over 500 of that was Heather. Mostly run-walk cycles going on, basically walking, then running, but in short intervals.
Like, I do sort of as I'm ramping up overall speed, I go with short switches, like a minute each way, and I'll use a run speed. I think at that point I was in the 6.2, 6.3 miles an hour, and then a walk speed of 4. So even my walk speed is a pretty decent clip. When I run, I am a toe runner, but when I walk, I am full foot. And I think there's just so much friction when I'm walking at that kind of speed. Once I'm done my run walks, if I take my sneakers off and go to stand on the deck, I couldn't do it because it was too hot on my feet.
Right.
So if it's too hot on your feet, like what's it doing to the belt that's been working for an hour and a half? Because that's what I was doing. I was doing 90 minutes, those kinds of splits.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's
I cooked it.
Yeah, exactly. You cooked it, you melted it, and yeah, it's constant like that. It never cooled down in that center tray. So I found that when I ran, especially if I used it relatively soon after you used it, I had to make sure I ran with a wider stance. Otherwise, I was kind of catching where you had been. And basically it got melted right down the center of the belt. Saw the same thing in the second one, but it lasted a lot longer. So melted right down the center. And when the belt was taken off to be replaced, you could tell that there's these smooth paints, essentially probably a plasticized paint of some sort, on the deck board where everything runs on. You could tell that had melted and created ridges. So it was like melted and pulled this the deck itself. And that's Heather did that. So we did get that repaired. It was fairly quick. I have heard people have horror stories with the phone. We never tried the phone to get a hold of the repair folks. We used just the email. It's techsupport@horizonfitness.com, and basically sent in with the email when we purchased it, what the issue was, and the serial number of the treadmill, and pictures with whatever was going on helps, because basically same with any business right now. Like you drop an email into a bucket, somebody responds. They responded within a business day or two, and parts came right after. Like they basically, the parts went right in the mail right after that. They were shipped immediately, shipped fairly quick. The actual repair here in Winnipeg was done by Fitness Experience. Yeah, so the repair here in Winnipeg was done by Fitness Experience, and basically as soon as I got the acceptance email from from Horizon indicating that we've recognized that there's this issue, we're sending out parts, we've created a ticket. We got a call from Fitness Experience trying to set up an appointment, basically saying, once the parts arrive, call, we'll set up the time, we'll come out and fix it. Super professional, super friendly, really quick, cleaned up after they were done. COVID stuff was all followed and all that kind of stuff, because of course we've been in that all this year. So second belt, what I did for that one, because we didn't get a new deck, the deck was still melted when we put the new belt on. I think it wore out a little bit faster. It still had it still failed in the same way as the other one, which was basically a melting right down the center of the belt. And it's, again, just Heather's running style and the way she was training. And that belt lasted closer to 1,200 miles total?
Yeah.
1,300 maybe. Because 1,060 was
6 months.
Yeah, over 6 months. Heather put 1,060 miles on. I had some miles on there. The kids had some miles on there as well. And kind of the same sort of thing. It melted down the center of the belt and kind of stretched out from there. We suspect that even that was a premature wear out, because it did have those ridges on the deck underneath. So you could feel them if you walked barefoot. You could feel those bumps, and you could actually hear it as they were going. So this time when we went to send in the need to fix the belt, I also loosened the belt up and took pictures of the deck showing the ridges, and they sent out the belt and deck as well. Now with that one, it was put in the claim and the requirement. They accepted again within a day or two. I got a call from Fitness Experience within a day, kind of thing, to set up the appointment. but we hadn't got notification that the parts were shipped. They said they were shipped, but we never got notification. So we went about 2 weeks, and I emailed again, and I don't know if it was coincidental and that's the day they happened to ship, because I mean there are the global supply line stuff, or if I just needed to nudge them the second time.
And this was like the beginning of December.
Yeah.
So like prime shipping times for everybody for Christmas and the holidays and everything. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's a fitness company. They probably wanted all of those parts to go on machines they wanted to sell for January as well. So it's I did have to email them again, but the awesome thing about the email is it registers in the system, and I always got a response from the emails within a business day or two, so no issues there. So they sent out the belt, they sent out the deck. Fitness Experience came out and did that install. We had some back and forth. We were waiting on a COVID test, which thankfully was negative in our house, so we had to put them off a little bit. Otherwise, they were going to do it like Christmas.
Like 2 days before Christmas.
Yeah, they were going to do that, and then they were going to come back, and so we rescheduled that. I called them and rescheduled that because of waiting on the COVID test, and instead we booked for the next Wednesday. So even right in between Christmas and New Year's, they were going to do it, and in the end, they did it.
It was on the 30th.
Yeah, the 31st. They did it on New Year's Eve at just before noon.
Oh, right, because my last one of the year was on the new deck, new belt, and like what a way to start the year.
Brand new.
All new.
Yeah.
It was lovely.
Yeah, exactly. So they had a bunch of people out sick that week in between, also with the COVID stuff most likely. So they rescheduled from the Wednesday to the Friday. They got it done super quick the Friday morning, and essentially when they walked out, we had a brand new treadmill after 10 months of using it, and over 2,000 miles on the machine combined. So that's not so bad. We got 2 more months at this point to until we run out of the in-home labor. But as I kind of mentioned downstairs, I'm extremely comfortable with repairing these machines. We've had the other ones where we've gone out of the year labor, and I've ordered parts and I've done them. It's all straightforward to do any of the pieces. It's not like the other more expensive treadmill we'd had, where to replace the belt, you essentially had to dismantle the entire machine. It's much more straightforward to do the work on these machines, and it's simple, straightforward, doing all that kind of stuff. So it's I'm more than comfortable doing the work on these machines, and if there was something that I did have trouble with, I'd have no problem phoning Fitness Experience and paying them as well. So 2 more years of parts labor after that, and as I was kind of mentioning downstairs as well, I've gone looking, and Johnson Fitness, the parent company, seems to have a good online site now for purchasing parts. So it's no longer you've gotten out of warranty, you might have to find another one to salvage or buy a new one. They seem to be supporting, from what I could see, basically fixing your old machines and keeping them going.
That's nice.
So I mean, that's another 2 years before hopefully we need much of anything, but it's and hopefully this belt lasts longer too. You're more into running than the run walk, so the belt gets a little bit of a chance to not melt. But I'm doing a bit more running on it now too. We got the kids doing a bit more on it too, so it'll be interesting to see how we go in, say, another 6 months if we have to replace the belt again, or
like for a home machine, this thing is getting a lot of use.
Mm-hmm.
Like every day I am on there.
Yes, exactly.
So
so
it is not being used as a clothes hanger.
No, not at all. So it's used heavily, and really can't recommend it enough. Mm-hmm. It was nice to see that, major retailer here in Canada is now picking up the same brand, the same machine. Not a sponsored video in any way, shape, or form for Fitness Experience or Horizon or Johnson or anything. It's just a machine we bought for our own use. It's been really good. So,
I'm so happy. I mean, I still don't say that I'm the runner in the house, because that's you, but I'm up to a run speed on my intervals if I decide to do intervals of like 7.2 with a walk speed of 4.4 now. Mm-hmm. So I can cover some distance. And I don't like weather, period. I do not run outside. at all. So.
Yeah. And this has been a bad winter too. Like it's, if it's not minus 40, we've got, 70-kilometer-an-hour or 40-mile-an-hour winds.
Active snowstorm.
Yeah, I mean, it's snowing right now. Again.
It's pretty.
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, at least this one's like large snowflakes. But yeah, it's a weird year, and you have to run on the streets to run anywhere right now in Winnipeg, I think, and that's just not wise. I've done that enough that I don't want to do it again. Don't want to do it anymore. I'll run outside in the spring and summer, but yeah.
Not me.
No.
Never. Unless we do an event.
Mm.
I don't even know if I want to do an event again.
Yeah.
We've done them.
Yeah.
You've done a bunch of them.
Yeah.
I've done a few.
Yep. Yep.
Princess.
Yeah. Mm. I've done Dofies, I've done Goofy. I mean, that's where the big Goofy runner comes from. So
I guess I did a Goofy too.
yeah, you do. Yeah. So we've done a bunch of stuff, and yeah, when it comes down to it, I've also been asked the question on whether this machine could handle someone training for a marathon, and absolutely. We've had those treadmills we had before were all used to train for marathons. Those previous ones did it multiple times. I'm right now around 240. I've trained for a marathon on them at 250 pounds, so they can take a beating. So yeah.
And I've found that the translation for what I'm doing on my machine, I generally have better times on a road race.
Yeah.
Like clockwise, so it's not like it's so much easier on a treadmill.
Yeah.
No, the treadmill is going to work you, so.
Yeah, it helps with setting the pacing and all that kind of fun stuff. So I have found, because I've done, I don't know, I'm over 16 marathons now, something, and I've done ultras and lots of halves and things like that, but I have found these ones to be fairly true to what I actually run to in the wild. So it's, as opposed to, like treadmills will lie to you. This one's not too bad. Like as Heather said, she runs a little bit faster outside or at the at events, but you also have the nervous energy at events, the kind of stuff like that. And if a treadmill is going to lie to you, you want it to tell you you're a little bit worse than you actually are, so you can be surprised. Our old treadmill used to tell us we were a lot worse than we were, and
That was horrible.
It was a horrible machine. But the one we just got rid of, and it's in the garage, and I'm slowly enjoying ripping it apart.
There's definitely some satisfaction to that, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because that machine broke me. Just with the conclusion that while we've replaced 2 belts and a deck in 10 months, we can point to what caused that, and it does not say that it does not say that the machine is not robust. It is robust. It handled everything we threw at it, and we handled it better than we could have expected.
Especially when you take into account the price point.
Yeah, exactly. It was
when we decided to go up in price point on the last machine, we thought, okay, instead of replacing them every 2 years, maybe this one will last 5. Well, it lasted 5 because we didn't use it.
Yeah, exactly.
It drove us into the ground, and if it had taken what we have been putting out on all the other machines, we'll never know, because it was it was just not usable.
It was an awful experience. Yeah. I came back from having done a Dopey challenge, which is a 5K, 10K, half marathon, full marathon in 4 successive days, and the year previous hitting personal records in half marathon and full marathon, doing multiple races, doing 1,971 miles in a year, hitting 70 plus mile weeks, things like that. And I broke the treadmill we were using, and at that point it was off warranty, so it was like, okay, we got to get something else. That's when we decided to go up into this other price category that was supposed to be robust, and my running completely fell apart. We figured out in the end that it probably was telling me I was 10 to 15% worse than I actually was as a runner. Like, I came back from doing a marathon where I did a bunch of picture stops and a bunch of things like that, but it was essentially a 4-hour marathon, and I struggled to run 6 miles an hour on that treadmill when I got back, where I'd already done 6.6 for 4 hours in the Florida heat. So, yeah, it was, should have known right then, but we had to try and make it work. It was not a good idea. But we're now back to what works for us, and we really can't recommend them enough.
We have moved on.
Yep, exactly. All right. Okay, we're in that there before we ramble on for about 4 hours. Because this is not meant to be a podcast about this treadmill. But thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next video.